Welcome back to The Ground Up Show. I'm your host, Matt Diavella, and today I'm sitting down with Brandin LaShea. She's a chef, business owner, and host of the online show POTPIE, a series where she sits down and cooks cannabis-infused foods for her guests. She actually doesn't sit down. I don't know why I said that. We do talk quite a bit about marijuana and its many myths, the history of hip-hop and how it's changed over the years, as well as knowing when to celebrate and treat yourself, and when to put that extra cash into a 401k. It's a fun conversation, a lively conversation. I had a great time talking with Brandin. Let's get right into it. Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome.
This is it.
Thank
We're
you
just
for
going to
having
get
me.
into it.
Cool.
You have done a lot.
A lot.
In your life.
Yes.
Like when you...
Which seems like an old life now. As I get older, I'm like, okay, it's good that I've done a lot.
Yeah. Like there's the hip-hop rapping groups opening up for Iggy Azalea. You are a chef. You worked at Nobu. You've done so much stuff. Modeling, hosting,
Yeah.
list goes on. Right now, what does your life look like? Are you still juggling all this stuff, or are you kind of like focusing on one or two things?
Right now, my total, like my heart, my soul is my cooking show, POTPIE. I feel like being given this opportunity, it's like my dream come true. So everything that I'm doing, it's kind of all the heart and soul is going into the POTPIE and the cooking show.
Right. POTPIE is a combination of two of your passions.
Yes.
Pot and pot.
Yeah.
Pot and cooking. That's amazing. How did this opportunity come up?
Well, it's so crazy because I'd say 2 years ago, I moved into a new apartment and I was like, wow, I would love it if I could come up with my own cooking show. And I knew Snoop was just about to launch his show with Martha, and I'm friends with Snoop Dogg. So one day I was in a UCLA suite. We're watching a football game and I'm talking to him and I'm just like, I love what you're doing. You know, I'm a chef. Like I would love to have my own show. I wish I could have a show where I kind of invite people on and we get stoned. And it was kind of just a dream. And then miraculously, I must have manifested and created this whole thing because I get a call from a friend of mine and he's like, hey, my host for one of our shows quit. You should come in and meet with the team. And it was basically the same premise that I wanted to do for my show, but they'd already had a whole season, and then I was stepping in as the new chef. So for me, it was like everything was already in line, and I didn't even have to do anything. I just had to come in and show up.
Wow. I mean, I feel like you're the dream candidate for that
I hope
role,
so.
Right? Well, like, you know, smoking weed, I've done it a bit, but not a lot. And when you to be able to like actually function and smoke weed, like there's a skill there,
a gift.
right? It's a gift. It is something that you're born with. It's
my Jedi.
So I guess we'll explain the show a little bit. Tell me, like, so you have some of your friends come over.
So the premise of the show is I have a celebrity guest or an influencer. Usually it's a homie of mine. They come on and they bring ingredients to their favorite dish. I don't know what the dish is. As we're kind of pulling out the ingredients, I generally get the gist because I can tell as a chef I know food. Mm-hmm. But sometimes I don't make the right thing. I have 60 minutes to figure out that dish. And while we are cooking, we're also getting super baked.
It starts from the very beginning.
We're baking and we're getting baked.
Sure.
And each episode is sponsored by a different brand or company in the cannabis community.
Such a clever way to bring it all together, and then also to be able to actually make it sustainable and to monetize it. Yeah. It just like it connects. I mean, when did you start smoking?
I started smoking Don't Kill Me Mom when I was 14. Mm-hmm. I smoked for the first time. I didn't smoke. Like I wasn't a smoker. I smoked. I tried it. I wasn't really into it because I was a competitive cheerleader and it kind of just didn't go with my athleticism. So I didn't really smoke a lot. Then when I turned about 18, it became more of a thing for me. And now it's just like, I don't even think about it. Like people can't function when they're stoned. Like I smoke a little bowl and I clean my house. I write a paper. I write a proposal. Like it gives me a creative flow and an upbeat sense where I guess some people don't have that. So I can smoke all the time.
Yeah, I can't. I wish I could.
A lot of people do.
It depends the kind of weed you're smoking, right?
Totally, but like I used to only smoke sativas, which is like the one that keeps you up, and it's a lot more upbeat. And now I love indicas, and I can smoke an indica, which, you know, stoners, we call that indicouch, because it puts you
just
in the
melts
couch.
your face.
But I'm good, you know? So that's why I'm able to do my show and keep, you know, it's hilarious because my best friend, actually, we live together and she can't cook for shit. And whenever I'd be cooking dinner, she'd be like, what can I help you do? And I'd be like, well, you know, just roll me a joint.
Yeah.
And so when I got the show, I actually told my producers, I was like, you guys don't understand. I've been training for this for my whole life.
Yeah. No, it's no joke. And like, there's I don't know if you know Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Like they smoke quite a bit on their show, or at least from time
I was
to
trying
time.
to get him on my show. Joe, if you're listening, come on to POTPIE.
That would legit be amazing.
Yeah, he's amazing.
He could handle it too.
Yeah.
Do people just get totally baked when they're on the show? Like your friends that you have on and these influencers?
Oh, it's hilarious. It's funny too to like watch me out smoke my guest and then like watch them get progressively sillier or like it took me and Chanel West Coast 2.5 hours to film our episode.
Oh my God. It wasn't just
a 60 minute thing.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you get stoned and you don't realize like, wow, getting baked the whole time you're actually doing something is a lot harder for most people.
Probably dangerous for most people who haven't
don't
smoked a lot.
recommend it. Yeah.
Like
especially when you're dealing with hot things.
Yeah. If you're getting high, just order takeout.
Yeah.
Don't turn the oven on.
Postmate up.
You're going to forget that you turned the oven on, right?
Oh, well, so on my first episode of my show, I had Chanel, and this is an amazing story. I'm laying in my bed. We live together. Our rooms are like separated by the kitchen and the living room. And I'm like tossing and turning in my sleep. And I can't really figure out why I smelled something so burnt. I'm like, well, okay, I know she can't cook, so maybe she burnt something, and I just smell like the remnants. 6 o'clock in the morning rolls around, and I'm like, oh my God, what? There's like actually cloud smoke in the apartment. And I go to open my oven. She had put 2 different pizzas, her and her boyfriend, in the oven. One this like a large DiGiorno, and then one a personal size. So 2 different temperatures, 2 different cook times.
Wow.
And each pizza was like shrunken down to a little fudge cookie.
How long was it in there?
All night.
Wow.
And the whole apartment was just hazy.
Oh man.
Yeah. So
that's dangerous.
It's
right?
very
I feel
dangerous.
like something bad could happen.
That's what most stoners do when they cook.
Yeah, they just leave it in the oven and forget that they were hungry.
Even
or then
if
start
you hear a
snacking.
timer, you're just like, what is that?
Yeah. I've done that before without even smoking. I remember once because I was either I was poor or this is me being a minimalist. I didn't have a toaster, right? Or I was like, I'm not going to get a toaster. I'm just going to toast all my bread in the oven. It takes a very long time to toast bread in the oven. So I put in a couple slices of toast and I was just going to add some peanut butter to it. And then I forgot that I put them in there and I left to go to the gym. And then when I'm walking on the way to the gym, it's like a 15-minute walk. I swear to God, a fire truck went past me, like sirens going. And I was like, no, shut up. And then I was like, shit, I forgot. It wasn't the fire truck for me, but I think that was the universe reminding me that I had screwed up. And then I just full sprinted back.
I almost caught my kitchen on fire too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I put a joint out on an egg carton in the trash. And I swore it was out. Like it was gone. But it slowly had just like smoked, and my roommate went to open the cabinet. It was just like a huge puff of smoke in her face. Luckily, nothing was on fire. It was just,
I'm gonna have to do like a fire safety episode where
we should just like bring back Smokey the Bear, but like do it for stoners.
I'm like paranoid when it comes to. That's actually a great idea. You should have Smokey the Bear on the show. I don't know. Maybe that's the brand. I feel like the branding is okay now because like there used to be a crazy stigma around weed, but now it's like
it's iffy.
It's weird.
We're in a weird cross point.
Yeah, I'm sure you have people that still think it's like a horrible thing, but I remember coming back because I was on the East Coast over the holidays, and then I came back January 1st, and then seeing just a line around the block for MedMen down the street. Like,
MedMen is like it's like the Apple.
Do you like it?
Of cannabis. So I personally don't need like the Geek Squad telling me what weed and flower I should purchase, because I'm a connoisseur myself. So I could understand somebody who's not very well versed in the cannabis industry going in there and being like, okay, this is good. It's informative. It's a one-on-one experience. But for me, I don't know.
Well, I think you have to pay for it too in some way or another. Like, yeah, you can
I like
tip,
to
but
get
it's
delivery.
Also,
I use StoneyApp.com, and it's literally, it's so easy. You just go on the website, you pick out the stuff you like, and it's delivered right to your door.
That's it. This is the future,
no fuss,
isn't it?
no muss.
Isn't it weird now, though? Was it weird for you? Because, I mean, since you smoked since you were 18 years old, you always had a way to get it. Did you start buying it legally once it just became easy to deliver?
Yeah,
or
absolutely. And for me, when I use cannabis, it is a medicine. I have a really hard time sleeping. I don't at all take any Western medicine. It's just never been my thing. So for me, that's the thing for me. When I went to Spain, I didn't have any flower to smoke. It was the first time for like a very like long period where I was like, oh my God, this is making me realize like this helps me function. Like it helps me go to bed, helps me eat in the morning. Like I'm literally not hungry or things if I don't smoke. So I'm like, okay, you know, it is a medicine. It definitely works in the same ways that Western medicine does.
Yeah, traditional medicine. I want to talk about like your career and the stuff that you do now.
Yeah.
But how did you get here? Like, you've always been into cooking. You said you had kind of a family of really great chefs.
Yeah, my grandma and my mom and my aunt. Well, I guess both of my aunts. One of my aunts actually became a vegan chef, so that's what she does now. She used to be an esthetician, so she switched the whole flip and now is doing that. But my grandma, my aunt, my mom, my grandfather wanted to own a food truck, before food trucks were even a thing. So food has always been a huge part of kind of how we come together. And so I feel like being raised in a kitchen like that, my grandma was always like, get up and help. You know what I mean? Like you can't just sit around. So at a young age, I was like, wow, I really like food. And there's something about it, like it just comes through my fingers. Like I can't explain when I cook. It works, you know? So I noticed that when I was really young, and I was like, this is something that I'm going to pursue and always have in my pocket in case all of my other creative pursuits don't take off.
Because you did have other creative pursuits in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
What were some of the first?
Well, I started off as a dancer. That was like the first thing when I was 7 years old. I took ballet and I was in hip hop team. I was the captain of the drill team. I was a competitive cheerleader, varsity cheerleader in high school. So I was always performing. I was always like winning the talent shows. Like we did Spice Girls, me and Chanel West Coast, when we were in like 8th grade. We always won, even though we were younger than like the other students and stuff. And like I remember, since we were kids, we would just pull all of our parents into the living room and we'd be like, hey, we just made up this whole dance. Like we need you to sit and watch. So it's always just been like, no matter where I was like, you got to stop. Everyone needs to watch me.
Right.
Like, let's do it.
Yeah. And when did like the rap group start? You've always been a fan of hip hop?
Yeah, I grew up like super heavily involved in the hip hop industry because of my mom. My mom has a DVD magazine, so she interviews celebrities and stuff. And I grew up literally leaving elementary school to go hang out in the studio with Snoop Dogg and DJ Pooh. So since I was 8 years old, like Snoop calls me Little Mama. My mom's ex-boyfriend is Suge Knight. So the hip hop community and me are like, you know,
there.
We're one and the same. And I always used to say when I was younger, like, God, I wish I wanted to be a rapper because my mom's connections are so vast in that section, but I didn't. So it kind of came to me really randomly. Like I remember when I was younger, I was about 8 years old, and I told these two girls in my apartment building, they were the manager's daughters, and they were like, yeah, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I was like, I don't know, but I'm going to win a Grammy. And they were like, you're not going to win a Grammy? And I was like, yeah, I am. And you're going to be the first two people I'm going to thank. Thank you, Paula and Marissa. I definitely still remember your names, and I will thank you when I win my first big award.
Yeah.
Like, so
amazing.
It's always been who I was, you know?
Yeah.
Being on stage, I come alive. Like, I love it.
What does hip hop mean to LA? I mean, it's definitely, it's funny because moving to LA, you start to hear a lot of the classics on the radio, like a lot of the old school NWA. Which is you don't
the real hip hop.
Yeah, you don't hear that on the East Coast. It's not like they're even doing throwbacks to their own. It's almost like something about summer and like hip hop. It just kind of connects.
It's always been a lifestyle. I feel like the hip hop industry has definitely changed recently, and I feel like it's a lot more socially acceptable to be African American, to be hip hop, to be in that world, and a lot of people want to be a part of it. So I feel like now it's important to keep playing those old school, like the Biggies and the Tupacs and the NWAs for these younger kids, because I feel like the music is just, I don't know where it's going now.
You're not, well, it's pretty, is it mainstream now? Like hip hop is like on the top of the charts at this point.
It is, and it never was like that, which is great, and it's amazing for the community to grow. But at the same time, what it's growing for, in my opinion, isn't necessarily true hip hop.
Right. But I feel like there's always going to be people like you that are like, well, you know, it's not the way it was when I was a kid. Like,
and I hate that because when I was younger and people used to say that, like when I was younger, I was like, God, old people. And now I'm one of those old people because things have changed.
What is it now? I mean, because
lyrically,
yeah.
There's not a lot of words being said in most hip hop when you listen to things on the radio. It's a lot of like mumbling. There's not a lot of storytelling. Like I personally like listening to an album that takes me like on a mixtape and like a voyage of somebody's life and what they've been through and why they're doing music and why they're where they are. I don't want to hear about how many Rolexes you have.
Yes.
You know? I just don't.
Has that always been a part of it though? The braggadocio. It's kind of like
for sure. The chains and the lifestyle. It's definitely half of the battle. I think people put on that front, but it's like it was never the forefront of what made hip hop.
Yeah.
You know, it was really the lifestyle and the culture and like the struggle and like putting hard work into something that like you believe in and never stopping until you get to that point, you know?
Right, of being a self-starter. And then that was kind of I made it, right? And that's kind of, that's where it comes from, because it's very easy to criticize and to be like people like running around with change and jewels and flashing it. And when somebody has come from nothing, when they never had it, and then they're like, oh, I finally made it, it's very easy to see why they would go to that place.
Yeah. I guess.
But then it's not helping anybody. And it's also like, well, you wouldn't do that in real life. Like if you're like meet somebody.
Like I come from nothing, like a poor family. Like, and when I have money, the first thing I do is I'm not like, oh my God, I'm going to go get some grills. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like you put it in the 401k.
Exactly. Yeah. And maybe I'm a little bit different than most rappers.
A little responsible.
I'm little responsible. That's my new rap name.
Little responsible. Yeah, that would be me too. That's my number one advice is like get a 401k. I mean, listen, we should be able to celebrate. We should be able to enjoy nice things, especially
treat yourself.
Treat yourself, absolutely. But then know where the line is. And like, if you've only got $5,000 in the bank, don't spend it all on
Gucci,
some jewelry, or Gucci or whatever. There's a line, and I think it's crossed. And then I think it's unhelpful for whether it's rappers or anybody. Like you see it a lot with entrepreneurs and startup founders, and especially the self-help people who are like the Tai Lopez's, who are, you know, this is my Ferrari, you know, this is one of my 3 Ferraris or whatever. And we're like, nah, I don't care. Because then you're really inspiring a whole group of people to enter into a career or a certain path just for that stuff. Right.
And to say that materialistic things equal success, to me, is the wrong message to send at all.
Yeah.
You know? So it's kind of like, if you really want to step in and be like, especially for the self-help guys that are out there and on their Instagrams and stuff, flossing what they have, it's like, what you're doing shouldn't be for the outcome of money. It should be for the outcome of humanity and growth. You know? Has
it always been something that's resonated with you, or is that something that you kind of learned as you grew?
I feel like, so I grew up very spiritual. My family was kind of very heavily involved in going to church and Christianity. And when I was 14, I was like, you know, I just kind of don't believe that there's like a man with a beard who's told us what everything is.
I should have told you this is a religious Bible podcast. No, it's not.
I'm a Mormon.
Yeah.
But so when I was 14, I was like, you know, I'm not going to go to church anymore. And I started reading a lot more spiritual books, Deepak Chopra, and getting a little bit more in tune with who I am as a person and an individual and how I show up in the world. And to me, that's the most important thing. And I think if a lot more people took a step back and kind of just focused on bettering themselves from the inside out, this world would just be a better place.
I think we just get a little bit too caught up. We get so trapped in our head.
The ego. It's you know, we all as humans, we radiate from an ego-centered thought process, and everything we do, it's like there's always this little like devil on your shoulder kind of telling you like you're not doing it right, you're not good enough, this is wrong. But it's like, no, nothing's wrong. Everything you're doing at every given point is exactly right for you and your human growth, or else it wouldn't be happening.
Right. I think it's a constant process and a balancing act of kind of losing it sometimes, where maybe you go down the wrong path a little bit, and then you have to self-correct, and you're like, well, you know what? You know, maybe I shouldn't be focusing on just making money here. Maybe if I was just focusing on what I loved, then the money would come naturally.
Well, and last year when I came into doing my cooking show, that to me was the biggest thing and the biggest change. I had a mentality where coming from a poor family and not having everything you want when you're growing up, you're kind of like, okay, like I need to make money. I need to make money. I need to make money. And however I can do that, whether it's taking odd jobs or doing all these things, you kind of find yourself stuck and you're just like, okay, well, you're settling. And last year I was like, you know what? I'm going to stop saying no. I'm going to say yes to everything. And it changed my whole world. It opened up everything to where now I'm getting checks for the things that I love. And not checks for the crap that I'm like, I just spent 40 hours last week working for somebody else to help their dream.
And that was like part of your journey early on, right? I mean, you graduated from culinary school, classically trained, and then you start working at Nobu, which I just actually went to Nobu for the first time.
So good.
It's incredible. So is there only one in Malibu here and then one in New York?
La Cienega. So the one that I worked in is in West Hollywood.
Okay. So there's one right here. There's another one in Malibu, but it's like 5-star.
Yeah, it's on the beach. And then there's the original like Nobu Matsuhitsu. It's in the valley, was out there.
Yeah. So that must be a dream job for a lot of people right out of school.
Yeah.
Did it have the notoriety of the time?
It did, and it does, and it still stands, I feel like, really strong on my resume. Whenever I show people my resume and they're like, wow, you worked at Nobu immediately after graduating culinary school. How the hell did you get that job is usually the first question.
Yeah.
And luckily my best friend was the maitre d', and so I'd already developed a relationship with the head chef while I was in culinary school, and so it kind of just got me in, and I was right on the line doing the salads and the appetizers straight out of school.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just the power of relationships. And
that's the power of relationships. And when people say networking is key, it is so key. And who you meet is everything.
Yeah. How do you go about making connect? If somebody wants to like build their network, because I remember thinking about this when I was young and I didn't know anybody. It just seems like such a daunting thing to make not only friends, but professional acquaintances that could potentially help your career.
And I feel like people find like, obviously, I think you meet a lot of connections going out and experiencing the nightlife in LA, but there's a fine line between knowing how to go out for work and go out and get caught up in partying. Because if you're going out for work, you're having one cocktail, maybe two, and you're networking. And those people who you're meeting, you're remembering who they are. And tomorrow when you wake up, you're emailing them saying, hey, nice to meet you. And that's how you get that next lunch date or whatever it is. If you're too sloppy and drunk to remember, you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah, you're not going to build a very good reputation.
No.
Yeah. I don't go out. But what about for the people like me who don't go out much anymore? We're not going out for drinks. What can we do?
I felt like social media, honestly, has driven me to a lot of my contacts now. And I'm not sure if it's because of my show and now people are more like interested in who I am, and the big saying, nobody wants you until somebody wants you, it does stand. And as soon as you get your foot out there just a little bit, the door opens and everyone's like, hey, what are you doing? What are you about? I would love to collab with you. I want to work with you. And then it just, the next thing you know, you're just completely booked and always doing something.
Yeah. I think that's really where the place where you want to be is, there's obviously an element of in the very beginning you can hustle and try to make connections and whatever, but you don't really have anything. You have no work to show. You have no reputation. But then if you actually are creating something, if you start your own show or podcast or blog or whatever, then you can start to build a name for yourself. And the place where you want to be is where people come to you, and all you have to be is a filter. It's like, you're like, I don't want to do that interview. I'll do this one. Ooh, I would really like to meet this person. That would be cool. And that's the position I think everybody wants to be in.
That's like the golden zone.
Yeah, but it's not. But then there's still I think you have to make it just a part of your life is like meeting people and like not always trying to get something.
Exactly. And like how you show up when you meet people. And I feel like I have a very personable personality, and like from afar people are always like, oh, she's a little intimidating, or you looked like you'd be intimidating, and then they meet me and they're like, oh my God, you're the life of the party. I want to be your friend, most importantly. And now that I like you, let's make some money.
Yeah, let's make some money because it's fun. Like it's really fun to I like just completely infusing my personal life into my work life. And, a lot of people are like, you need to have a work-life balance. And I think those are the people that just don't like their work.
Exactly. Well, and that's like the biggest thing is really finding something that you love. Like when I'm cooking, I don't look at the clock ever to think like, when is my day over? I'm looking at the clock like, I hope I have enough time to finish this, And I'm never thinking about like, what am I going to be doing after? I'm just so immersed in what I'm doing that like I come into this zone and everything is closed out.
Yeah. I don't think a lot of people can say that about what they do.
No, but everyone can find that. You know? And I feel like even if you're not making money doing the things that you necessarily love, you should always make sure that you're finding that time. Like even when I've been working in an office job, I'm trying to create a jewelry line on the side so that I can continuously be making something. Never stay stagnant and never think that like it's the end. You know what I mean? Like I'm 30 and I thought 2 years ago, I was like, oh, maybe being a creative and doing all these things that I love really isn't going to be the thing that makes me successful. And maybe I should change my whole path. And then it's like, nope, the universe comes knocking on your door and it's like, no, you were given these gifts to continue to flourish.
Where does that drive come from? Because not everybody has that kind of entrepreneurial push to make their own things. I know you started a catering company very early on at like 22 years old. Yeah, where does that come from?
Well, I'm bossy.
Yeah, for control, yeah.
I'm bossy. I don't like being, I like being the one who's running the show. So from an early age like that, for me, I was always, like my first job, I managed a boutique when I was 15. So it's like I was always in a position where I'm kind of the leader and the one creating the path. And so I feel like for me, that's why I've always stayed true to just trying to make it on my own without anybody else. Like I told myself 2 years ago, I'm never, ever going to work for anyone again. I will work with people. I will be on contract as a cumulative group, but I'm never going to have someone as a boss.
So it was even being in that position where you have a dream job for a lot of people out of college. It wasn't your dream job.
No, not at all.
Yeah. And it's just that dynamic of having a boss, having somebody tell you what to do versus defining your own future.
Exactly. And I feel like why work super hard for somebody else's goal and their dream? If you can put 20 hours a week into somebody else, 40 hours a week into someone else, you can put 10 into yourself. You know what I mean? And that 10 is going to add up and get you to where you want to be eventually.
That's what was my exact circumstance just out of college and making wedding films for other people's companies. And just noticing that, well, I do a wedding for him, and then he gets this, that client. I go above and beyond, make an amazing wedding video, and then that reputation is his. Right. It doesn't go to me. I'm not building anything myself. And then even if I were to step away and be like, you know what, eventually the money is not worth it because I can go out and try to find my own clients, build my own company, and then even if I have 1/10 of the clients as him, I'm actually building something for myself.
Exactly.
Which then you just look at the long term, because a lot of people are just kind of in it for the short run. They're just like, oh, I just want that check every week.
Well, that's why I quit Nobu, because I was like, you're in the kitchen, I'm there 14 hours a day, making $11.50, barely surviving, and the waitresses and stuff are coming back and they're like, oh my god, I just got this $500 bottle of champagne as a tip. And I'm like, well, dang, I'm cute, I could cook the food, change my clothes, pull a Mrs. Doubtfire and serve it and come back. And so I was like, no, I'm not getting that gratification of all of this hard work that I'm putting in. So I was like, I need to start my own catering company, because then that's going to be me. It's going to be, I'm the face, I'm the one who's building that repertoire with my clients. You need that interpersonal. For me, I don't want anyone in between me and who I'm working with.
What did you learn during that process, and was it pretty challenging to get that going?
Oh, it's so hard. And again, it is all about connections. Like I got my first, I'd say big gig. I did a short film and I did all of the craft services. And so that was me, where the first time I'm hiring 2 other people. It's 5 days a week, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. There's no kitchen on set, so we're filming in Topanga, so I'm driving back to Venice to go to my kitchen. That was the first time that I felt like I was like, wow, okay, this is going to take a lot of work, but it's so much fun, and I'm controlling the show that I don't ever want to do anything else.
Wow. Yeah. So I feel like it does have to really just feel like so good to be doing that on your own for it to be worth it.
Yeah, because when you don't feel the return, you stop. And I've had so many things, I told you, I started a jewelry line, and I was like, okay, well, I'm not really getting this instant return. I'm not making money. I'm not feeling very full doing this. So I quit, and then I go on to the next thing. And so to find something that keeps me and has locked me in, I'm super stoked.
How did you go about finding like new clients and kind of building that?
Well, it's
business?
really cool. There's a large catering world just in LA in general. There's a lot of websites. Like I'm on a website called Hello Chefy, which I book a lot of gigs through there. There's Instagram. I feel like the Instagram thing, honestly, I wish there was Instagram when I was younger, because I feel like I would almost be 10 times more successful, because you're the curator of your own life and what you put out there. And I feel like, you post really good, tantalizing photos of your food and people are like, I want to eat that. Can you cook for me? It's also really hard being a chef, because it's one of those careers where if you meet people and you're like, oh, I'm a chef, they're like, oh, well, can you come cook for me first? And I'm like, no, it doesn't work like that. Like,
yeah.
If I was a hairstylist, I wouldn't give you a free haircut first and then have you pay me.
Yeah. Is that, I think a lot of times though with the social media, like your food can speak for itself. Like if the presentation is up there. Right. And then if like, I don't know if you can have reviews or anything like that.
You can. And it's like hashtags, you know what I mean? It drives immediate business to you. If people are searching for your services, they're going to find you.
When did you realize that like Instagram specifically would be a catalyst to be able to network and show your work?
Oh, probably like 2.5 years ago, I totally kind of rebranded my whole personal Instagram, and I drove my following. Like I'm almost at 10,000 followers. It's not a lot, but to start from nothing, I changed the way that I was doing everything. And there's a very specific attack on social media to get people to your page. You know what I mean? So I learned how to edit photos. I learned my hashtag game. Like those things are all very important. How you like going in and engaging with other people on Instagram that are interested in the same things as you. It's just like there's 400 million users or something like that on Instagram daily. So it's like that world right there just in itself is so huge.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much opportunity. But then on the other side, there's a lot of competition.
Yeah. So you have to do things to set yourself apart, which for me, I feel like my food speaks for itself. Every time I post something, people are just like, oh my God, that looks amazing. It looks delicious. So hopefully, I don't know, maybe just because people believe in me as a person, they think my food tastes good.
Right. Well, I think there is like an element of trust. But I think that's what you have to bring as well. It's like, yes, your work should be so good that it speaks for itself, and that like you don't need to like talk it up or whatever. But I think with the same reason why I might hire a filmmaker to help me out with a shoot, or an editor, it's because I want to collaborate and work with people that I really like, because you get to hire essentially your coworkers. And when somebody hires a chef, they're hiring somebody that they can like have a connection with. Right. So like if you can somehow bring your personality out through Instagram or online, I think it's not as easy as people think it is. Because to be able to show your personality, whether through video or photos, to show who you are, it's not so straightforward. Well,
and I even have I love being on camera, as I said, and love performing and stuff, but I can't talk to the phone. Like I just can't. I'm awkward. It comes off uncomfortable. I'm like, I don't understand how people can do that and really like captivate an audience through telling like the selfie story. So for me, that just doesn't work. So I don't do that because it would probably scare people away from my page.
Yeah, and it just takes it's kind of draining too. Yeah. I've tried it. And I'm like just getting cut off by the 15-second limit. I'm like, hey guys, what's going on? I'm like all excited, and then all of a sudden it cuts me off, and I'm like, motherfucker. And then like, after 3 times, I'm like, I'm just gonna be pissed off in this thing. I'm like, all right, go swipe up.
So funny.
No, I don't know. You got to do focus on what you actually enjoy doing. Yeah. Especially when it comes to the promotion and
people can tell. I think even though it's the internet, people can tell what's genuine and what is disgenuine and fake. Like it's a feeling, it's an emotion, you know what I mean? And even though it's a photo, photography speaks a million words to me. So I feel like people can tell just from your Instagram page, what kind of person you are, and tell if they want to fuck with you or not. Yeah.
I think I was like a little bit nervous when I first started to kind of put my own stuff out there. And I think it was because I was like, oh, my friends are going to rip me apart. They're going to make fun of me so much for having a podcast and talking about self-development and this stuff. But then when I, and my first couple of videos were a little bit corny and they maybe didn't really feel like myself. But once I got to the point where I could just be self-deprecating, I could make fun of myself, I could just be myself, where like my friends wouldn't be like, oh, he's pretending to be a guy like Tony Robbins or whatever. He's just being himself. Then I felt much more comfortable. But it's not so easy to be yourself
No.
Because you're trying to always put out like your best version of yourself, which isn't yourself.
Yeah, like I almost wish I could just have like a GoPro, like just strapped to my head facing forward at all times, and then just like edit the things that happen. Because like naturally I'm very funny. Like even when I'm filming my show, and I don't want to say naturally I'm very funny, but you know, we'll do like a rehearsal of kind of a walkthrough of what we're going to be doing so the guest has an idea, and I'm like, I don't want to talk, because if I say something now, I'm not going to be able to say something, like say it again, because it's just, I'm not an actress necessarily, I guess is what it is.
Yeah, that's the same thing with this podcast, where I want to just start like the podcast before you guys come up the stairs. I'm like, because there's like so much natural, candid conversation, and I think that's what people want to see too.
That would be cool.
No, I don't know. Well, I think you need a little bit of rapport. We need to have like a little, hey, hi, it's nice to meet you. Maybe, I don't know. I think that might be too much.
You're like, can you leave? We're gonna do it again.
We're gonna redo that. Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a balance to it.
Yeah.
Because you want people to feel comfortable.
Right.
And you don't like if you just started shooting your show like right away when people come straight through the door and you don't have a chance to say hello, it would be weird, right?
Like, hey, what's in that bag? What are your ingredients?
Yeah, what are you doing? Let's go. Let's get started. Although I guess that's what a lot of people do at the big shows, you know, Fallon. Yeah. Although that's a little bit more, they script that shit. Like,
yeah, I mean, you know, I found out like my dreams are a little bit crushed. Like all the cooking shows, they're fake.
What are your favorite cooking shows?
Oh my God, I love Chopped. There's
so
something,
good.
but it's funny because my show kind of has that little bit of the mystery basket aspect because I don't know what the ingredients are. So, you know, it's great that I ended up doing a show that's similar. I love that. I love the element of surprise, and then I love watching to see what they come up with. I love any kid cooking competition because that's where I found my love for cooking. So I look at these little nuggets and I'm like,
so bad. They're so bad. I feel so bad for them though because some of them start crying.
I know, but that's what's cute and sweet. It's endearing.
I guess.
You're like, look at these little tiny humans that are following their dreams and they have not been crushed yet by the world and the society around them.
Yeah, that's I guess that's a positive way to look at it. Maybe not. I don't know. Just wait. Just wait. Give it 10 years. So what about Cutthroat Kitchen? You ever watch that one?
No.
Oh, that's a good one.
No.
I don't know if it's still on Netflix. I think it was at one point, but it's really good. So each contestant starts out with $10,000, and then I think it's $10,000.
My eyes lit up. I like money.
But then they can use that money to sabotage fellow people. So there will be things up for grab, like you have to replace all of your knives with pieces of wood, or spoons or whatever.
Crazy,
making it crazy hard.
I would do that.
And then, but the judges have no idea what the people were like. What the penalties or these kind of things, so they don't know. So they
just have the dish at the end, and they don't know that somebody just made this whole thing.
Yeah, like this tortilla is like kind of wet, and it's like that's because I had to boil it or whatever. You know what I mean? Like they can only cook, and some of them are like tiny little pots and pans.
Stop, so they have to make kitchen.
They have to make an egg in one of this little kids kitchen.
I like Guys Grocery Games too. That one's good. It's like, that old school show where it's just like, if you could put everything you can in the cart, it's basically you get an allowance or money and you get to go down the grocery aisles and you actually just make stuff from you get to shop in aisle 2, 3, and 4 and that's it. And then make a dinner dish or whatever it is. It's a cool aspect.
In what way are the shows fake? Because you said you found out that.
So I just was talking to someone last week and they were like, yeah, that they prep everything and they know everything on Top Chef. It's not like they know the meal. The judges have already tasted things. It's all scripted.
As a chef, did you kind of suspect it? Because you're like, there's no way that people can be that good.
My show doesn't have it. There's no kitchen magic because we literally film from the start to the finish of me cooking and that's it. There's nothing prepped. There's nothing if I burn something, it's going to be burnt on the show because I only have ingredients for that one thing.
Right.
So to me, I think that's a cooler aspect because it shows a realness, Chefs are humans too.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I've worked on reality shows, some teen and kid talent show.
Oh, I did a dating reality show for BuzzFeed and Facebook.
Oh, you did?
Last December. And, again, I was very excited because I'm like, wow, fat checks are rolling in and I get to do things that I love. Be on camera. And at the time I was single. I was like, this must be serendipitous. I'm about to find my husband. No.
Wasn't great.
They made me the villain of the show.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, so it was BuzzFeed? It was an online type thing?
It's on Facebook.
How does the show play out?
It's like a Bachelor. There's one guy. It was 5 guys. America votes in the one guy. 2 girls show up to the house instead of like 30.
Yeah.
And each girl gets a date, and then one goes home, and then 2 more girls come, and so forth and so forth. And I was the first 2, and I stayed through 10 girls.
Wow.
Yes.
But you were the villain?
Yeah, which I didn't know until after I watched
What do you mean?
the show.
Like, what do they put? Just dark music? And
Oh, there's like, they literally, when I like look at someone, they put daggers up next to my head, like as if I'm looking at them like,
Were you playing that or no?
No.
You were just like looking at someone.
like there's times when I'm smiling and there's daggers. Like,
isn't that crazy? And that's what I mean. That's what what happens when you sign up for a show like that. You got to kind of expect.
well, you know, you sign on the dotted line, and it's like you can totally mess up my character. You can do whatever you want,
tarnish my image.
But then you're like, well, I'm such a good person. There's no way
right.
you're going to be able to do that. But they did it.
Even smiling, just daggers.
Even smiling. And like, I do have a big personality. I'm outspoken. So like, yeah, that's definitely my personality. And if something's bothering me, or if there's like something I'm not feeling, I'm probably not going to be the person who keeps my mouth shut. I'm going to tell you. Mm-hmm. So they definitely used that as like the ploy of like, okay, well, she's going to be the only one who's speaking her mind. The rest of the girls are all just kind of,
right.
We're going to focus on her. You know?
You were the only one that was like interesting on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's always going to be those shows out there, people that enjoy binge watching, like The Bachelor.
I love reality show.
Yeah.
I haven't watched this week's Bachelorette, and I'm going to go home and do that later.
I did. I can fill you in, because my girlfriend makes me watch it.
I went to the taping of The Bachelor, The Final Rose.
Oh, no, you did not!
Yeah.
Oh, man, that was a
crazy
one.
That
was a tense... That was the one with
Ari.
Yeah.
That was a diss if I've ever seen a diss.
Which one? I don't know.
He proposed to one chick.
Oh, yeah.
Said, I want to spend the rest of my life with you.
A diss is a way to put it. Yeah, give us the background, because people, I don't know if my podcast listeners are Bachelor listeners as well.
Well, now you can get into it, because we can watch Becca come back in and get a way better man than Ari, because
she's got options now.
She's got options, and they're way better than the first one in the first place.
It was a bad season. Now, Ari wasn't really an interesting
no one
guy
really wanted him to be the Bachelor. I was hoping it was going to be Peter.
Yeah, see, I don't my memory of Bachelor doesn't go 3 seasons back.
See, so
I erase everything.
I started watching with Rachel, because she was the first African American Bachelorette. So I was like, yes, gotta watch for my girl, you know.
Yeah,
so
took them long enough, 18 years.
Literally.
Yeah.
So the one of her runners up, he should have been the Bachelor, but I don't think he wanted to.
Oh, okay.
I think he turned it down, and then they gave it to Ari.
Yeah, and then they got the backup, and then they got a backup season. Well, the big controversy from last season was that it was it was like a 30-minute unedited him.
I watched that before anybody else did.
Oh, you did? How did you get that?
And I couldn't say anything. I had to sign an NDA.
Oh, damn. How did you get to see it?
My friend had a friend who worked on the production, so we got to see it all unfold.
Were you like, this
and
is
like
not
them
gonna
in
go well.
person talking when they first saw each other after not seeing each other? So he breaks her heart, proposes to the poor woman Becca. Ari says, I'm gonna spend the rest of my life with you and choose you. Not only does he say from this moment on, but every day forward. He made
it very clear. I will love you every single day, and I won't miss a day.
And then they think that she's like, we're reuniting. I haven't seen my fiance in a month or whatever it is. And then he's just like, so I've been thinking about the other girl.
Yeah.
Oops.
And then they showed it unedited, both camera angles. ABC, they kind of
savage.
They fumbled that one, because people weren't very happy with them. They're like, well, this is unethical, because they just showed Becca just crying for 30 minutes straight,
like hiding in the bathroom. Yeah, it's awful.
It was brutal.
So with reality shows, the only place that they can't allow cameras, which is what I realized when I was on my show, is in the bathroom. Except there's mics, I think. So you have to like run water. There's like it's a lot to be on a reality show, which I never really understood until doing it. But it makes me appreciate it almost more now.
Yeah.
When I watch The Bachelor, because I'm like, okay, now I know what's really fake and what's real.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I think you can enjoy that stuff.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I think
it's like you're living vicariously through someone else for a moment.
Yeah. I think that some people take life a little bit too seriously, right? Where I will never watch a reality show. That's cool if that's for you. But we need our guilty pleasures.
Well, it's like movie elitist. Like, I watch anything. And then if it's bad later, I'm not going to watch it again. But I appreciate that a cast, a crew, a filmmaker, a director, they all got together and they made something. So I'm going to watch it and I'm going to appreciate it for just that fact alone.
Yeah. People, they signed up for it.
Yeah.
If you're on a reality show, you signed up to, you know what you're getting into. And like for a lot of them.
I was really naive though. So I can understand. And like I'm in the industry. I've been in the industry my whole life. I've been around it. My best friend's on reality television. She did Love and Hip Hop, which is crazy. Like real drama. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to find the love of my life and everything's going to be great. And we're going to skip off into the sunset.
Yeah. It didn't work out quite like that.
No.
Was it a popular show? Did it get a lot of
They're
views?
doing a second season. So, you know,
this is
I guess
weird.
It did okay. The first 2 episodes, which were like mainly me, had like some of the highest ratings. The ratings went up and down, but it's a Facebook show. So
yeah, I know. Well, this is interesting just in terms of distribution. Like it was a 30-minute show?
Well, it was only supposed to be about 13 minutes. And then the first episode did so well that they decided to stretch it to 30, like 25 to 30.
I'm curious to see where it's going because early on, you couldn't do a show on Facebook, YouTube, whatever, because the technology wasn't there.
Right.
But now it's like, does it matter if it's on Netflix or Hulu or on cable TV?
I actually think that digital television is going to be the next big thing. Like, I feel like people are going to ditch their Spectrum and get rid of all of those things, and you're going to be able to just watch everything you want on your smart TVs. Because it's like now VH1 has an app. MTV has an app. You watch all the things. You don't even need the cable source anymore.
Yeah. It's just that shows on Facebook aren't sexy right now. Like
No.
Netflix is sexy. Like this
show is sexy. Like the reality show I did called Relationship. Like I walked out. I've never seen myself so well lit. Like they did a great job. Like a lot of money must have went in.
Yeah, I mean,
to everything. Like
the quality is there for sure. But I think if you were to get your show picked up or to pick a platform, people would choose Netflix 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
Right. But then unless like maybe Hulu if they pay you a little bit more. But to have a show on Facebook right now,
no,
because like you're probably not going to get as many views as you would if you were on one of these other platforms.
Definitely not.
But I think it's going to go there. And like even YouTube Red, they have their own platform now where, I mean, I think if your show is good enough, that's
my
all
dream
that
is
matters.
to get my show on Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
And like, I live across the street from the next Netflix building. So I just stare at it longingly every day. Like, come on.
There's a lot of documentaries and there's a lot of shit on Netflix that just is bad, right?
Yeah, there's some, I mean, most of their stuff to me is pretty good. I feel like they're like, the scripted shows are like a little bit, some of them aren't good.
I think like the new stuff and the original stuff they make usually has a very good level of quality.
Like
Chef's Table.
Amazing.
Yeah, incredible show. That there is a level of quality there that is just, not
Have you seen
surpassed.
Evil Genius on Netflix?
Is that the one about the bomber guy?
Yes.
Yes. No, that was fucked up. That was crazy.
Blew my mind. Literally.
Like literally. Oh my God, dude, I can't believe they showed it. So they showed this plot to rob a bank, and then they strapped C4 on this guy's head, and then he couldn't unlock it. He had to figure out this whole puzzle to unlock it, but then the cops stopped him. And they showed his head getting blown up.
Yeah.
That was...
Well, and the most savage is that his head didn't actually come off of him. But then they had to cut his head off to get the bomb off. Like, come on.
They cut his head off. He was totally part of it, right?
I think so.
Yeah, he was totally part of it. Wow. No, but Netflix has some good shows.
Yeah.
So you have some plans and ambitions to make a show?
Well, so, I mean, I would love it if my production company is amazing. It's Prohibited Media, and they're one of the largest cannabis media companies. And they just got, like 2 days ago, $8 million in funding. So we're about to skyrocket. I feel like they're kind of going to be their own Netflix of sorts. And I probably won't even think about Netflix, but Disjointed came out and I was just like, wow, it's a good avenue in my opinion. I feel like my show, POTPIE as it is, would fit with Netflix.
Oh my God. Well, and as we were talking, it's the more acceptable it gets, the more a part of culture it becomes. Like it's already there. But obviously we're in California, we're in a little bit of bubble compared to the rest of the country. But like once the rest of the country starts to catch up.
Well, that's the thing that it's like, there's all these little state laws and stuff, but it's still federally illegal.
Right. So you can still get in trouble. Yeah.
Like in a lot of places, like in the time period I was living in New York, it became decriminalized, which is amazing. So you can like not go to jail.
Which is totally cool.
This is such a funny story. So I lived with my best friend. She's a white Jewish girl. and we go pick up a bunch of weed. And like, in New York, you have to actually go get your flower. And so we're like carrying a bunch of pot. And I decided, I don't know why, to wear these pants that have weed leaves all over them.
Not suspicious at all.
To go pick up our drugs.
Yeah.
And I just remember
he's probably like, is this your first time? You have a sign like, we're trying to buy weed here.
Possession. So we go into the bodega and we're, baked. We took a bong hit before we left the dude's house. And I just look at my best friend. I started sweating and I'm like, oh my God, Megan, take the weed.
I can't be holding this right now.
I cannot be holding this. They're totally going to come for me.
Oh my God.
I was so freaked out.
It's a good thing though that it's legal now, and we don't have to do those kind of things.
Totally.
I think, yeah.
I mean, look, people come home, they drink 2 glasses of wine. I smoke a bowl. Yeah. I don't, you know what I mean? It's the same, in my opinion. It's the same exact thing.
Well, it's just like a smear campaign in like the 1912 for weed, and then
all your brain on dope. Yeah, kids.
And then it's just like this whole misrepresentation of what it does, and like reefer madness.
Like I got into an argument with someone when I was in Spain, and I'm a little bit more well versed, obviously, in the cannabis community and the studies that go on, and I work for a company that's their whole driving purpose, So I understand that when I'm talking to people, there's an ignorance when it comes to cannabis in the world, but it's bad. It's still really bad. And even people who smoke still have weird stigmas and don't quite understand it, And so that's important. I feel like it's really important to get knowledge out there to people so that they can understand what the effects are. All of the study, like my friend was like, there haven't been any studies to see like what the damage is, and da-da-da-da. She was like, my dad's a doctor, so he doesn't. And I'm like, well, that's a bias. Your dad's a doctor. Of course he doesn't want anyone to smoke weed. Yeah. Like, it cancels out the pharmaceutical company. And the only reason, in my opinion, why I think pot was ever illegal is because the government couldn't figure out ways to tax it. Because I could literally go drop a seed right now outside and grow a plant. So it's like, it's not something that they can regulate. And they're finding ways now to do so, and they're regulating dosage, and they're making everything a lot more safe, which is great. And hopefully like that will spread, and like more companies like MedMen will start to come out where it's like, it's not like your hood little trap shop where you feel uncomfortable, going to buy flour and going to buy pot and stuff. It shouldn't be like, oh, this is weird and sketchy, I'm buying drugs. Yeah, I think that MedMen is definitely doing a great service to make. And their new advertisement, their campaign where it's like doctors and athletes, and I smoke too. Crossing out the stoner, it's definitely shifting it quite a bit. It's fun because like whenever Natalie, my girlfriend, has friends over from Australia, which is, it's still illegal there across the board, I'll like take them to MedMen to show them around, and they're like, what? So it's so exciting. So cool. Well, I was in Spain, I was in Madrid, and they have cafes where you literally go in, they serve you coffee, you smoke some hashish, you chill, and it's just a world. You have to be invited in as a member, you pay for the year. So it's like, it can be a very cool, exclusive kind of thing. Like there's a place opening up in West Hollywood called the Atrium, and you can go in, and they have, I think, 4 dishes currently where it's infused with cannabis. Does it actually get you high? Yeah. Yeah. And everything's regulated now, so it's all microdose. You know what I mean? You're not going to be comatose from anything. Like, I want to start throwing cannabis dinners as well. Ah, that's great. So what's your preference for smoking? Like, just straight up smoking out of a bowl, or bong. Like eating? You don't do much, because like it's all very different. Like edibles, and then even the what's it called, the vaping? Yeah, they're different highs. Oh, they're all different highs. Totally different, and like you literally, for smoking, it's just like anything else. Like, I don't drink whiskey because I don't really like whiskey. You know what I mean? I love a good glass of Cabernet. Like, that's my preference. It's the same thing with flour. You'll find whatever works for you and how it works. And with the microdosing, everyone can start off small. Like, it's like 5 milligrams in a serving for an edible. So you're not eating those brownies like in the 70s where you're like, oh, I don't know what's in here, and then you're just like, I can't move. Yeah, I got all giddy because when I first moved here, it wasn't legal yet, so I got the card, and I go in, and he's like, I had a whole bag filled up with stuff. He's like, what are you throwing, a fucking party? And I was like, I didn't know this was a lot, and I still have a brownie in my fridge from like last year. It's 100 milligrams. I'm like, I'm never gonna eat that. Well, now they're regulating all the edibles like in the package. They have to be, I think, they used to put like 1,000 milligrams and things, and now it has to be 100 and then 10 milligrams or less per serving. So
Yeah.
it's in July 1st, a lot of things are going to change. A lot of products you probably love are not going to be on the shelves anymore. It's all changing. It's becoming more safe, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good thing. All right, let's do quick questions.
Yeah.
And then we'll wrap up the podcast. All right, so this is just a couple questions kind of pointed at helping people who are just getting started out on their journey. If you could go back to college graduation, what would you do differently?
I would go to college graduation.
You didn't.
I didn't graduate from college.
You didn't graduate, but all right. So let's talk about the time when you left. God damn it! Don't give me such a hard time.
I personally was just like, I don't think college is for me. I knew that I was a hyper creative, and I am so thankful that I didn't go and waste 4 years at school. I went to Santa Monica and I got my AA, and I was like, as long as I have my general education on lock, I'm good. But yeah. I think about it now and I'm like, maybe I would have gone to college and gotten some sort of a degree just to like have. Because now that I'm older, I'm like, that time period wouldn't have made any difference in my life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if I could have just gone to school for 4 years, I just would have went to school, come back, and I'd probably be doing what I'm doing.
Like maybe have a little bit more patience back then.
Exactly. Patience for like the future me.
Right. Because everybody's just so... And that's actually one of the reasons why people don't travel. And I know you said you just traveled out of the country for the first time a month or so ago. And it's like, I had the same thing where I just got caught up where I was like, oh, I got to start working. I got to start making, I got to start doing this. Cause then otherwise, it's kind of FOMO. You have the fear that you're going to be missing out on this growth and opportunity. But at the end of the day, you just got to like, let that stuff go.
Yeah.
And
just
enjoy
take your
it.
time, you know?
What universal skill do you think is most important for creators, entrepreneurs to master?
I feel like being able to put yourself in other people's shoes always is a huge life lesson and thing for me. Because it's like, even if you're working, like being on set, I'm like, okay, if I show up, I need to show up to my best ability because the director is and the DP is and all, you know what I mean? It's like I'm always thinking about other people instead of just being like selfish.
How do you get through doubt?
I'm like a super positive person, and I kind of live by the motive of like, I never see a problem. I'm always thinking of the solution. And I feel like the period of freaking out or being doubtful within yourself is a waste of time. So I kind of always, like, if I'm like feeling like I'm depressed or I'm not exactly where I want to be, I kind of just shake that off and I'm like, get out a pen and paper and start making a to-do list of the things that you can do to get yourself out of that.
So just start working.
Yeah, just work.
Yeah. Has there been any advice that you've received from mentors or, throughout your time as both a business owner and chef that's like stuck with you most?
Baz Luhrmann told me once that the one with the quietest roar is the biggest lion in the room. And he was telling me that because I was talking to him and I was just like, I feel like I'm a little bit more, and I was comparing myself kind of to a best friend of mine at the time. And I was like, I just feel like I'm a little bit more reserved and she gets more attention. Kind of that's where I was coming from, an ego-driven place. And he was basically just like, don't worry, because you sitting over there not making a sound is speaking volumes over the person who's trying to be the center of attention.
I love that. Anything else that you want to say? I screwed up on the podcast recently where we stopped recording and she's like, oh, I really would have liked to talk about that. And I'm like, oh, I blew it. So we started recording again. I was like, all right, we'll do a bonus extension to the podcast. Any last words?
No, just, life is all about being true to yourself. And I always say that, like, there is no one youer than you. It's like Dr. Seuss, but it's like you are the only person who has every single thing that you have. The only thing as humans that we share that's like a similar thing is the circumference of our eyeballs. It's 2.5 centimeters for the human eyeball,
really?
Generally, yeah.
Wow.
So that's the only thing that we really have in common that would match another human. So be yourself, do your thing, and it's always always going to work out at the end.
I love that. That's great advice. I'm glad I asked you. And where can people find you online?
You can find me on Instagram at Brandin LaShea, and that's Brandin, no O, LASHEA. And you can find me on prohibited.com, which is where you can watch my show, POTPIE.
Awesome. Thank you for doing the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. This was dope.
All right. And that's the podcast for this week. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to find out more about this podcast, you can go to groundupshow.com, or you could also check out the YouTube channel. Lots of videos, excerpts, and clips from this podcast are there. That's youtube.com/Matthew Diavella. All right. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. See you next week.